Welcome to the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Alston, and it is once again my pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you. I am so excited, yes, again, to be here with another amazing professional speaker, author who is going to be talking to us about her organization and her business and her book. And I'm excited to learn more about it. So in 2018, we have a lot of people here on the podcast, as you can see, who is readily available to share their information with you. So if you want to be part of the podcast for 2019, just stay tuned and listen out for the call of speakers that's coming out at the end of the year, because this is the platform to be on. Just in case you did not know, the purpose of the BMWOC podcast is to not only share our industry information, but we are encouraging you, the career seekers, enthusiasts, to enter their line of work and look at the different trends in the market and in the workforce and, of course, your career. So be sure to take a moment and visit all of the pages that I have posted here on my website that is here for you to help you with your business. And with that, you also need to take a listen to the podcast, because these folks have a tremendous amount of information. So get your pen, your paper, start getting your phone, start calling these folks, and most of all, patron our fellow BMWC participants, because they are in business to help serve you. And so we want to make this a stronger community by giving back to those who participate in this platform. One of the things we want to do is thank our corporate sponsors, which are Cat Serrano LLC, Cheryl Wood Empowers, Concern and Learning, Evangelism Radio, Genesis Preferred Solutions, J Coach International, Nels Tax Help, My Financial Home, Power, STCI, and the student teacher, along with our other business partners and affiliate sponsors, and all of the participants who is here supporting this event. So today, as promised, we have another amazing person here. We have Natalie. Natalie Lewis is the CEO of Release the Queen in You Enterprises LLC, where she encourages, empowers, and equips queens to go from breakup to breakthrough, and by helping them move forward and get their confidence back. Natalie also is a published author with her book entitled The Queen in You, that she released out in 2015. She seconded a book where she co-authored with 14 other amazing authors, which is the WOMB Sisters Chronicle Volume 1, which she's going to talk about on this podcast today. And she is also a person who travels. She travels internationally as a motivational speaker, empowering queens to be their best version of themselves. So I'm going to let you go ahead and keep reading the rest of her bio while we go ahead and bring Natalie to the podcast. Welcome, Natalie.
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. Welcome to the podcast. And I'm so happy that you're here. So let's start with just telling everybody, introduce yourself, where you're from, and how did you, matter of fact, let's start with what did you do before you became a motivational speaker and author?
Awesome. Well, before that, I have a long standing career in customer service. I've done a lot of different aspects of customer service. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy, getting to the root of the problem, helping them figure out what it is that they need. So I've done customer service for over 10 years. It is something that I enjoyed. I've always been the encourager on the team, where I work at, or even if I'm working by myself, I always have teammates and employees and people come to me just to brighten their day. So I was always the happy person at work, no matter how crazy work may be. I was always the person that people looked to, like, girl, I need to be encouraged today. What you got for me? So I took that and kind of flipped it into, the motivational speaking. Wasn't something that I planned to do. It wasn't like I woke up one day and I want to be a speaker. I actually just started to write the book, and from the book birthed the speaking, birthed the business that I have now. So like the book was the starting point, but then it turned into something way bigger than just a book.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about the book first then. So you started writing the book, and let's just give a good synopsis about what the book is about, what prompted you to create the book, and then we'll go from there.
So my first book, Release the Queen in You, it is my story on how I discovered that I'm a queen. I dealt with a lot of issues as far as, low self-esteem, low self-worth, feeling like I wasn't good enough, I'm not enough. And I kind of been on a journey, and I'm still on the journey today of just finding who I am, finding more about myself, learning more about myself. I'm kind of like a sponge. I take everything in. So with the book, first it was just like, I just want to share my story. And then it went from just share my story to, but I also want to empower women and make them, realize that they're queens. I believe that every woman is a queen, just not every woman has recognized that within herself yet. So my book is titled Release the Queen in You, because I believe every woman has a queen inside of her. So what prompted the book was really, I've always wanted to be an author. That was really one of my childhood dreams. The first book I ever read was Maya Angelou, I Know Why the Cage Birds Sing. And from that point, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a writer. But, life happens and you kind of forget things and you forget those dreams that you had when you were a little kid. But I've always kept a journal since I read that book. So I read that book about age 7 or so. Always kept a journal, always write. I love to write. So when I wrote the book, it was more of sharing my story, because there's a lot of stuff that people didn't know about me, my childhood, my past, some of the dark things that people just thought that I had this amazing, happy life forever, because I'm always happy and I'm always encouraging. But they didn't know that there was a lot of pain behind the smile. I wore a mask for a very long time. So I looked like I had it all together. I looked like I was fine. But I suffered with, depression, suffered with, not feeling like I'm not worthy, low self-esteem, looking for love in all the wrong places. So with the book, I talked about those different stages in my life where I, realized, like, wait a minute, I was born into something greater than where I'm at. So I shared my story on how I overcame, being a young mother, you losing a baby at a young age, through miscarriage. I talk about, going through the mental part of, you think you're okay and everybody thinks you're fine, but that kind of left a mark on me that I kept quiet for a very long time, because a lot of people didn't know or didn't understand what was going on with me, which is something that I feel a lot of women do. We're so strong, and we're told to be strong Black women and, be strong and carry the weight. But then sometimes we got to learn to let that stuff go as well. So, I wore a mask for a very long time. I wasn't free. In my mind, I was a prisoner in my own mind. So I write about that in my book as well. I share my stories, but I also share, just tips on how a queen behaves. Queen behaviors,
Right,
what
right.
queens
I was going
do,
to
what
ask you
queens
about
live.
that. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because you said a whole lot right there, and I wanted to kind of go back to get your definition on what a queen is. We all know that a queen may have a crown and stuff like that, but African American women particularly always talk about and refer to as queens,
Yes.
because we want to have that royalty, we want to have that confidence and things like that. But from your perspective, what is the meaning of queen to you?
But my meaning of queen is to be the woman that God created you to be. Be your authentic, you're uniquely you. You are yourself. You are confident. You are bold. You are courageous, and you know who you are and whose you belong to. That's my definition of a queen.
Okay. All right. So you were about to go into that you're teaching them how to, become a queen, and you were about to break those down.
Yes. So as far as, the journey, it's a journey. It's not something that happens overnight. You have to recognize the situation. So my thing is break up to breakthrough, because what I realize even in my own life, but I see it a lot in a lot of other women's life, is after a bad breakup, it's almost like we forget who we are. We forget the person that we was before this person came into our life. We forget, how to be happy, confident, you know, in ourselves as single women. It's almost like we kind of forget because we allow this relationship to become a thing in our life that we held on to. So when it's over, it's almost like, where do I go from here? How do I bounce back? Where am I going? So with that, I help women gain their confidence back after having a bad relationship, to know that, hey, you can be happy, you can be whole, you can be successful, you can follow your dreams, you can travel, you can do all the stuff you want to do as a single woman. And that doesn't make you less of a woman because you're single. Doesn't make you less of a woman because you've decided, to take your power back and to be all that God created you to be. So it doesn't make you less of a person. So what I seen in my studies and just asking questions and looking on Facebook and just listening to what people talk about, women talk about, that was one of the things that kept coming up. And I'm like, man, what is it? What is it
Yeah,
about
yeah, I was gonna say, what
relationships?
is it about? I mean, why do you
Like,
think women keep going through these circles? Because we have so many people doing what you're doing. Why do we keep continuing to lose ourselves in this world that we're in? With all the empowerment and with all the, the workshops and the books, why do you think we keep going back to the same beginning of not knowing our purpose or not knowing who we are authentically? I think I said that right.
yeah, you did. I think the main thing, it all comes down to your self esteem and self worth. If you feel, a lot of us, and I'm reading this book called The Lies We Believe, but it's an awesome book. But a lot of us have been believing things that we were told when we were in our childhood, believing things that people have said to us, and even the little voices in our head that we have said to ourselves. So many people feel like the titles, the clothes, the house, the car, the dream husband, all those things make you who you are, but at your core, at your center, it does not. Because if all those things go away, does that mean that you're going to crumble and fall, or are you going to stand up and be able to arise from whatever situation it is that's trying to take you back? So I think a lot of it stems from, childhood issues. A lot of it stems from the things that we believe growing up, the things that we have told ourselves growing up, the negative things that we hear. Out of all of the good things, for whatever reason, people gravitate towards negative. And those negative words, words have power. They leave a stain on us. And some people are still recovering from words that were spoken to them when they were 5, when they were 6, when they were 13. And they never got over the words that were spoken to them. So we're doing all this amazing stuff, but deep rooted down behind the smile, behind the makeup, behind the mask, there's a little girl who still needs to be healed.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Okay. And so now that we talked about that, and then this kind of just brought you to the speaking aspect. So, what was your first experience in speaking, and how did that come about based off your book?
Well, the first experience speaking, my Facebook, it was funny because I always said I had like a Facebook ministry, an inbox ministry, because I use my Facebook to empower. This was even before I even wrote a book, before I even thought about writing a book. I've always been, I'm gonna use my Facebook. It's a lot of stuff out here that we can use different platforms for. I'm gonna use mine to encourage us ladies to keep going no matter what. So I've been doing that. But then, people kept inboxing me like, girl, you need to speak and you need to do this. And I'm like, okay. So I kind of just went with it. In my first speaking engagement, I was speaking to a group of young girls because I actually have a young mentoring program as well. But I volunteered and I spoke to a group of young teenage moms. And it just took me back to the place of when I was a teenager and I was pregnant. I was at age 15. So it just took me back, and I was like, wow, I feel like I'm speaking to the old me, like the younger me. And that from that point on, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. This is what I want to do. So I kind of took it and ran with it. It was such an awesome experience because it made me remember just where I came from and how I've grown, but it also made me remember that there are so many other young girls and young women and women in general that need to know that though this situation happened or whatever the situation you're in, though that situation happened, you can overcome anything and you can become anything that you want. It's all in a
Absolutely.
matter of your mind.
Right, right, absolutely. Well, first of all, I applaud you for one writing the book just for yourself, because a lot of people don't do that, and you actually just decided I'm going to put it all in the book because you were already journaling. And I
Yeah.
think that if a lot more people would just journal, because that seems to be
Oh,
the
yeah.
newest thing that people can do to help with their, anxiety, depression. I know I journaled, it helped me. We all need some sort of outlet, and just the fact
Yes.
that you kind of looked at that and then turned it into a tool for not only yourself, but you also using it for other women. I did the same thing, similarly with Empower Thyself. I didn't start speaking until I actually birthed the book of Empower Thyself.
Right.
So, I'm like, okay. So, and that's really great because you are finding different ways and you're actually sharing that information. You're not holding it in. And that's really great.
Yes.
So what so let's get into, okay, where are you speaking? Where are you, having these events where people can come out and really talk about that?
Well, I live in Rochester, New York, which is upstate New York. It's about 30 minutes away from Buffalo. I just started hosting my own events. I had my second event last month. It was amazing. So I do plan to have more. So make sure you're on the lookout. Follow me to get my information so that you can see when the next one will be. But I plan to do um, more coming in the future. I just have to plan them, but I definitely plan on doing more in the future. Now, as far as outside of my state, I do travel to other places to speak as well. I have a speaking engagement in August in New York, in New Jersey. So a couple of things coming up, but I'm definitely gonna continue to host my own events here. And if you would like me to come to your city, check me out there. I'll come. I travel.
That's right. Okay. And whatever she has, guys, for those that's listening, we will have whatever activities or places that she's going to be speaking so that you can reach out to her. Now, I don't want to forget, you also a co-author of an anthology series or another group project, right? That you want to talk about
Yes.
that book as well.
Yes. So the book is Womb Sisters, and Womb
Mhm.
stands for Women Overcoming Men Blues. And it was founded by my business coach, Cheryl Holland. And there are now, I believe, three volumes of it. I'm on volume one. And in that book, what Womb Sisters stand for is just women who have overcome so much with bad relationships with men, having, issues with men, just overcome those issues and now are in a better state. And the movement is for women to take a stand to say, okay, no more toxic relationships, no more, bad relationships. We're gonna respect ourselves enough to be in relationships that are healthy. We are gonna get healed, we are gonna get whole, and we are gonna love the right way. So that is what Womb Sisters is about. My chapter in that book, I discussed a relationship that I had that I thought was going to last forever because, when you in love, you think everything's going to last forever.
Yeah, we
But,
do. We do. We
just,
all
just,
do think it's going to last forever
yes,
until we find out it's
yes,
something different, right?
yes. But, just being able to grow from that situation and just move on and have healthy relationships afterwards.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So you have two books under your belt. Okay. So as a speaker that's out there doing, what you're doing right now, and because you are a small business, because you are speaking, what do you need to thrive from the people that are listening to your podcast right now that can help you further your cause?
I would say definitely just support. Definitely, if you have an event, if you're looking for a speaker that's gonna speak on matters of the heart, I'm your girl. Just speak, just could support. Share the information. If you know someone who may need services that I offer for women who may have going through a breakup, and need to, get their confidence back, have them check me out, and I will definitely give them a call. I'm open to collaborations and everything as well. So I'm open, and support is number one.
And support is definitely number one because we all could use support. So give everybody your contact information and where you are, where they can find you and things like that.
Awesome. So my website is www.releasethequeeninu. On there, you can see my current speaking engagements. You can sign up for my email list to stay connected. You can read my blog that goes out every Sunday. You can stay connected with me through social media. My page on Facebook is Release the Queen in You. Same thing on Instagram. I just downloaded Snapchat. I'm trying to get with the time. So that's the Release the Queen on Snapchat as well. And if you wanted to email me, you can email me at Natalie@releasethequeeninu.com.
Okay, so I have this one final question, which I really should have asked you earlier, but you know what? I think it's still good because it saves the best for last. If you had to give three pieces of advice for either doing customer service or writing a book or you're speaking, what would you offer to the people who are listening that want to do what you do?
I would definitely always say be yourself. Authentic. If you're not authentic in anything that you're doing, the outcome is not going to go well. So be yourself. The second thing is to find out what you're passionate about. What makes you tick? What makes you smile when you talk about? What brings you joy when you're talking about it or when you're writing about it or when you're helping people? Find out exactly what that is and make sure you pick that out and you use that as you go along your journey. And the last thing is to know that it's not always about you. Your story is not for you. So if you've been through some things, don't be ashamed of what you've been through, because you sharing your story could bring healing to somebody else. And most likely, your story is identical or similar to someone else's. So don't be ashamed of your past and the things that you've gone through and the struggle. Embrace it and keep moving forward and learn from it so that you can help someone else.
Wow. Okay. I really like that third one. I really like the third one you gave. That was awesome. So, everybody, please, this podcast is here to support small business authors and speakers. And we have people on this podcast who are seasoned professionals, and we have people who are starting out, but nonetheless, everybody needs support. We need people to come on this platform and really share your knowledge, and those who want to reach out and give their knowledge and help to help another person. So I want you guys to call Natalie and say, hey, I'm interested in your book. I'm interested in having you speak about being the queen in you, because I like what you said in this podcast. Don't be afraid to reach out to people on this podcast platform anywhere, because that's how we create a stronger community. I want to thank you for being on the podcast and being so candid about your background and just sharing your knowledge. It inspires me, because it just keeps me wanting to do what I'm doing. It keeps me wanting to like come out with this book. It keeps me wanting to
Yes.
come out and speak. And I really like the fact that you are using these talents and the customer service piece to reach out to people and really grasp them to help them out if they're feeling stuck.
Yes. Well, thank you. And you're welcome. And I appreciate you having me as well.
Awesome.